Hi. So we're going to go through a jazz blues in C, looking at voicings, 3-note voicings, 3-string voicings on the D, G and B strings. So our one chord is C, C7, simplest dominant chord. And so on the D, G and B strings, I'm going to bar them at the 8th fret and then put my second finger on the 8th fret of the G string. And that gives me the flat 7, the 3rd, major 3rd, and the 5th of C7. Okay. And if I put my 3rd finger down on the B string 10th fret, that gives me the 6th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, the 13th note in relation to the root, and so that's C13. So on the D, G and B strings, fret 8, 9 and 10. And I can move between, if I put my little finger on the 11th fret of the B string, that gives me the flat 7, as in a dominant 7 voicing. So I can have the 11th fret, 10th fret, and the 8th fret of the B string. But the 13 chord, the C13, is those three, giving you the flat 7, major 3rd, and the 13. Now if I move as I move to the 4 chord, as a way of moving to the 4 chord, rather than just, and I'm going to play the 4 chord as a 9, as a dominant 9 chord, which is, so the 4 chord would be F, but again I'm just playing on the D, G and B strings, and I've got 7th fret D string, 8th fret G and B strings, which gives me the, in relation to F, the major 3rd, the flat 7, and the 5th. Sorry, the 9th, that note on the B string, that note on the B string 8th fret is the 9th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah? Okay. So I've got the major 3rd, the flat 7, and the 9. So you're always getting the 3rd and 7th in there, and you're getting one of the extensions. Okay, so as I move from the 1 chord, I can do this chromatic movement. So what I've done there, here I am on the 1 chord, remember it's frets 8, 9 and 10. So I move my 3rd finger down a fret, so it's 8, 9, 9. And that gives me, in relation to a C chord, in relation to C root note, that gives me flat 7, major 3rd as we had, but now instead of the 13, I've got the, I suppose you could call it the 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You could call it the flat 13 or the sharp 12, but it gets called, there's the 5th, and it gets called a sharp 5. So now I have a C7 sharp 5, or C dominant altered chord. Altered, so-called altered, because you're now using a note that's not in the scale. So when you were doing a C13, that note is in the scale. That note is in C mixolydian, yeah? But that note is not in C mixolydian. So that's when you get an altered dominant. And altered dominants have more tension because they have notes in them that aren't in the scale. So I can have this movement from the 10th fret of the B string, 9th fret of the B string, and then the shape I have by doing that and having this C dominant altered chord is I've got, like I said, fret 8 on the D string, then frets 9 on the G and B strings. Well, this is where the tritone substitution thing comes in, because in relation, these 3 notes in relation to a C give me C altered, as I said, but in relation to a F sharp, they give me F sharp 9. And F sharp 9 is just a semitone above F9, and F, dominant F, is our 4 chord, and you know you can move into a dominant chord from the same shape or the same type of chord, a dominant chord. You can move into a dominant chord from a semitone above or a semitone below. So I could be going, yeah, or and back to your 1 chord. You can move into it from a semitone below or a semitone above. That's what you can do with dominant chords, because they're chords of tension, and when you play something the exact same shape, semitone above, that really gives you a lot of tension needing to be resolved, and then you take it down to your chord and it is resolved. So these 3 notes, 8, 9, 9 on the D, G and B strings, in relation to a C in the bass, give C dominant altered chord. In relation to an F sharp in the bass, give F sharp 9. And if the bass player is doing a walking bass line, he might well play both notes, the C, F sharp, and to F, yeah, even to F. And so if you, as a guitarist, were just playing this voicing, so you're playing your C13, and then when you're playing that, if he's going bum, 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 then you get both the C altered and the F sharp 9. It's the same chord except for that bass note. Anyway, that shape, then you don't even have to change that shape. 8, 9, 9, just move it down to 7, 8, 8, and you've got your F9 chord, your 4 chord as a dominant 9 chord. And going back to the 1 chord, you could just move the shape up again. And then go back to either a C7 or a C13. Then for your 5 chord, from this 1 chord shape of a 13, frets 8, 9 and 10. If we do the 5 chord as a dominant 9, the 3rd finger would stay on the B string 10th fret, and the other 2 fingers would keep the same shape in relation to each other, but move up a fret. So instead of 8, 9, we'd have 9, 10. Okay? And like I said, on the B string, it stays on fret 10. So we've got that shape again. And of course, going from the 5 chord to the 4 chord, you can just go down chromatically. So here's my 1 chord, and here's my 5 chord with the bass. That's the G, dominant 9, 5 chord, dominant 9. Go down chromatically to the 4 chord, and then on that 4 chord, if I wanted to, I could use my little finger, slightly out of tune, use my little finger to get that A note there, 10th fret of the B string, which is the dominant 3rd, the major 3rd of the chord, an octave octave up, so you could think of it as a 10th. Anyway, so I'm moving from the 4 chord back to the 1 chord, and I could just move that shape and go back to either the 1 chord as a dominant 7 or a 13. Or I could go, there's my 4 chord, adding the, like I said, major third up an octave, so the 10th, and then back to the 1 chord as a dominant 7, 8, 9, 8, or back to the 1 chord as a 13 chord, 8, 9, 10. Whoops. And then for your turnaround, so we've done 5, 4, 1, and I might go to the 1 and do dominant 7, and then dominant 13, which is 8, 9, 8 to 8, 9, 10, whichever finger I use there. Then if I've got this shape for my dominant 13 chord, my 1 chord, 8, 9, 10, and for my turnaround I go to the 5 chord, I can just move that shape up, 8, 9, 10 becomes 9, 10, 11, and in relation to a root of the G, the root of the 5 chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, G, that shape, I've gone from it on frets 8, 9 and 10, giving me a dominant 13 for the 1 chord, to on 9, 10 and 11, giving me a 7 sharp 9 for the 5 chord. And then I could take the 3rd finger off, fret 11 of the B string, with my 1st finger bar the D, G and B strings, so that now the B string is fret 9, so this shape is 9, 10, 9, and I could, it's the same shape as a dominant 7, straightforward dominant 7 in the E shape, so I can move that shape down a fret to 8, 9, 8 for my 1 chord again. Okay, hope that helps.